I want to thank you. I want to thank y'all so much. Good looking out, Erica, for coming to this families and volunteers training. We really appreciate y'all taking time out of your busy day to come learn with us tonight. I do want to remind you that this is obviously being recorded. So this will be shared out with all of the county agents and they will share with all of y'all. So do not think you have to be rapidly taking notes or anything. This is all going to be documented so you can rewatch this as many times as you need. So that's kind of all I have to say. Just again, thank you so much for being here, and I hope you learn tonight.
Could you tell us who you are or who you're with?
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sorry.
No, that's fine. I totally forgot. I take for granted that I talk to my coworkers all day. Yes, my name is Emma Hill, and I am the curriculum coordinator at the state office. So I work with Hope Bragg, Jesse Boxnick, all of those folks up there. And I took over the enrollment system as well. So this is us trying to get this rolled out, and that's who I am.
Wonderful. Thank you, Emma.
Mhm.
My name is Erika Jeffries, and ZSoft Technologies is the parent company of ZSuite, which is the enrollment system that y'all use or will be using. And two other software products that we have in our repository. One is the learning management system that we have that's called the Clover Academy. And our other software product is Zing Books, and that allows for digital online record books. So we have a couple different products, but what Arkansas will be starting out with for this year is the basically the enrollment software, so ZSuite. And so as things move forward and as Arkansas wants to offer more products or more tools for you guys to use as those changes move forward, those are integrated with our platform. So ultimately our goal is to provide you all with one-stop shop regardless of what software platform you use. Our company is also the gateway or who's responsible for the National 4-H shooting sports site. So again, with coming on board with ZSuite, we will still be able to allow you to use that same login if you have used the platform Shooting Sports College, then your login will still be usable for ZSuite. So I'm going to share my screen, kind of review briefly kind of some things that we're going to cover this evening. And so don't be intimidated. First and foremost, there's a lot of information I have to cover, but my responsibility with this company, I wear several different hats, including training. So this won't be the first time you'll hear from me. I can certainly do additional trainings, and especially if there's something more focused that we may need to pay attention on, such as events or perhaps something more oriented specifically to club volunteers as enrollments have come on board. And certainly happy to do that, to share that feedback with your counties or Emma. We can certainly make those arrangements possible. But I've come to this company with 15 years of experience working in 4-H. I was also in 4-H for 10 years as a member in Wisconsin and in Idaho. But for the state of Idaho, I started out as a 4-H program coordinator working in the county for 8 years, and I worked at the state office for Idaho for 7. So I'm definitely versed in 4-H, and I'm very excited to have you on board. I'm going to cover kind of some of our support components, help. I'm going to walk through 3 specific steps to kind of help you guys get started. You're brand new to us, so really spend some time on creating the household, which is the first step. The second step would be creating those household members for either youth members and or for adult volunteers. Parents, we have a placeholder now where parents can have a spot, but as far as the enrollments, those are going to, that we will capture. Those will be for the adult 4-H volunteers and your youth members. We're going to talk about the primary household account and how that is important. We will talk about the newsletter function that's built into the system, what the dashboard means. Take a look at calendar, how you look at or find events, register for events, go through some of the basic club leader functions, And I'm trying to hold out some time at the end for questions and answers. Since we have a small group, I will kind of circle with Emma. She'll be monitoring the chat for me. But as we work through different elements, before I go into the next topic, I'll just make a touch point to where if y'all have questions, I have a rule. There's no such thing as a bad question, and we are in this to learn. And again, we are so excited to have y'all on board. So without further ado, I'm going to go to our first screen. So our landing page is https://4h.zsuite.org. Now, if you went to just our regular website, zsuite.org, there is a redirect that will take you to this page. And this is the landing page, regardless of what state you're at. We serve roughly 30 states across the country, so even Hawaii, so everybody comes to here. And so there's a couple different things. On the lower right hand corner, you're going to see this little blue circle. If accessibility adjustments need to be made, such as increasing the font size, changing the contrast of colors, changing the brightness, darkness, you have several built-in features ready to go to make this a pleasant viewing experience. For best results to use this platform, you're encouraged to use either Safari if you're on a Mac, or Google Chrome or Firefox as your browsers. Please do not use Microsoft Edge. That browser is not supported. The system is responsive, so it will work on mobile devices. That said, there's a lot of information that we have to capture to set up your household. So honestly, for your best experience, being fresh out of the gates, you're going to want to try to do this on a laptop, a desktop. If you need to do it on a tablet, that's fine as well, but it is a lot of information to capture on a phone. And if you are, if you have to do it on a phone, you sometimes have to rotate to the landscape orientation, so and do some pinching to help with your screen viewing. So unless you're a returning shooting sports leader, everybody's first step is going to be to set up the household. So we simply click sign up. And so you're going to sign up for your state. I'm going to go to Arkansas. You'll want to select for your drop-down list. I am going to select, for the sake of demonstration, the example county or the demo county if it shows up as an option. Guess not, but that's okay. So you would select your county from the drop-down list. You're going to want to add in a household email. So the household email, when you come back to the screen after your household is set up, the household email is what you as a family will use to log in to access the system. And so the household email is the gateway. It does need to be a valid working email address. The system will ask you to confirm that again. And then the next field, it will ask you for your household last name. And then you need to set your password. Passwords must be 6 or more characters, and there's not a constraint on this, whether they're all lowercase, all caps, special characters, that type of thing. It just needs to be 6 or more characters. It'll ask you to confirm. And then it'll ask you for a primary profile PIN. So your primary household account is the gateway for enrollment, and it is also the gateway for event registration. And the concept behind that is you're going to have youth minors that are in the household along with adults if you're a typical 4-H family, as an example. So the household PIN, the conduit behind that is that making sure that mom and dad are providing, or parent guardian are providing consent for the child, for their enrollment, for the documents that you'll be signing. And so then once you click or enter in this information, we're going to go ahead and click let's go. So I'm going to log in to the demo account that I already have. So I have a couple little bit more steps. And so when you click Let's Go, you will be brought to this screen. And you're not going to see Sally, you're not going to see Sam, but you should see this menu on the left. And you should see the option to add a household member. And so what this does is this is the step 2 of identifying household members. So if you are in a home, and let's say you're going to have children in the program and you are an adult volunteer, if you have 2 children, you're going to set up 2 youth profiles. And if you're an adult volunteer, you would set up one for yourself. For adults, it's going to ask for first name, last name. Actually, it's the same information. If it goes to club member, then you'll see here that the birthday is brought up. You can identify parents, but for moving forward with enrollments, your 2 primaries that need to be identified within the household, if you have adult volunteers and children that are 4-H participants, is setting up a club member profile and setting up an adult volunteer. So in this household, we have Sally and Sam. So you've entered in your household email. And so the next time you log out and you come back in, this will be like your landing page. And so the primary place that you'll come back to, as far as enrolling or for registering for events, will be this primary account. If you're a club member, they'll be able to go into their own profile. They'll see announcements, they'll see activity for their club. That will also be the gateway when the time comes when y'all start with record books or decide to use record books. Then the youth can access their record book through their individual profile. As a volunteer, as a club leader, once you are approved as a club leader, there is a sub menu that you can access that has your club volunteer tools on there. So I'll touch on that in a little bit. So from the primary household, we've got our household members created. And so then what you should see is whoever you've created for household members in your account, you should see their names, and you should have the option to enroll the member now. So the enrollment packets are very similar for youth and adult volunteers. Of course, you have enrollment requirements. Your enrollment requirements have to be met in order for your enrollment to be approved. So the biggies would be your background check, your reporting, mandated reporter training. If there's additional requirements, then your county will reach out to you, but those are the 2 that I'm aware of. But we'll go ahead and work through what the enrollment packet looks like. So once you click enroll now, so we have an enrollment for Sally. She was enrolled last year, so we're in a new 4-H year. And that's a good reminder. So what you're having to do this year is a lot. Next year, you're basically going to re-enroll. So information will carry forward. You don't have to create a new household, and it will be a lot less time consuming. Not saying that this is hard by any stretch, but it does take a little bit of time to just get the house set up, get your enrollment set up. But moving forward, you only have to do that once. So it's very, very easy. And if you do move to a state that we service, your household can move. We can transfer your account to a different state. So that's just a matter of letting Emma know, or your county admin, they can let Emma know. But we do that on our side. But your enrollment packet, whether youth or adult, breaks down into 3 steps: personal information, waivers, and clubs. And tied to that club section is your project selection. So any of the fields that you see here with an asterisk, those are required. There is a little redundancy on the birth date for children, but once you've done that initial piece, there's some household components. There's also some pieces tied to SMS text messaging consent. So there are a couple different touch points on the child's birth date, but those are all necessary in the grand scheme of things. Years in 4-H. If it is your first year in 4-H, it would be a 1, We don't enter in a 0. And if you're returning, then you would just enter in the appropriate year, taking into account this 4-H year. And then right here, it's a good segue. Do you opt in for your child to receive SMS text messages? You can say yes or no. You can identify your child's cell phone number, cell phone carrier. We have the gender identity question. Identify your child's t-shirt size. And notice we do have a variance in here for youth sizes versus adult sizes. Mailing address, contact information, contact preference, whether you want email, mail, or text messages. And then member email. So the member email, this is what that child's email address is if it is different than the household email. So mom and dad, you will get your information from the system, but it is always good, especially if you have teenagers in your house, if they have an email address, that helps greatly in that communication process with those older youth. Parent guardian 1, parent guardian 2. If there's a split household, you have the option here. If you need to identify a second household, you can change that drop down menu option to a yes. Emergency contact information not already listed. Demographics, school information. You have the option here: public school, private, charter, homeschool, grade, and then military service. If there's anything missing, you will get a red prompt. Okay, this information is missing or incorrect, or okay, it's very easy to miss the birth date. You just scroll back up, add the information, and it'll allow you to click next. Or if you need to leave, you can always click and save for later and come back to it. So for Arkansas, you'll see here we have a series of waivers. We have the code of conduct, we have the health form, we have the media release, equine activities, and shooting sports activities. So with each waiver, there is a review component, member signature, member date. We want to make sure we get all their information captured correctly, parent signature, date. On the health form, it'll ask for emergency contact information again. And the reason why for this, a lot of times the health waiver is carried forward. Instead of having to capture all of this information again during an event registration, we confirm that, okay, yes, this information is correct. Or for the case of an overnight event, with camping, it's very common to see questions about administering medicines. If your child takes medicines at camps, or if there are changes, then you're going to see a spot to capture that information, but not having to capture all of this. So this really helps save some time in that registration process. But on the university side, they're capturing your emergency contact information, insurance information, physician information, health conditions, allergies, be it food, medicines, flying insects. And so this is where I say having and doing this on a laptop or desktop, there's a lot of information to read and review. Does your child have any or is subject to the following conditions? So just work through it very step by step. And again, fields that are asterisks are required. If adaptations are needed, that's fine. We just capture what that is and what needs to happen on that front. Medications, again, member signature, parent. Then we go through the media consent, and you have the option of yes or no, and then you can consent as parent guardian what elements you can consent to on that media release. Equine activities, there's a lot of verbiage on that to read and review, as well as the shooting sports waivers. So all of that is in your state as it stands right now. And then see, okay, we got to go back through and add, but we can go save for later. And
Erika, there is one question
Sure.
kind of in the same vein while we're here.
Yep.
What if I have young children in my group without cell phones or emails?
Then you can, for parent or primary correspondence, you're going to want to go with mail as correspondence preference. And then, yeah, just making sure, you know, is there an email address for the household?
Yes, there would be.
Okay, then the mom and dad would still get the correspondence, but
Okay.
it is quite all right if the child, especially with younger children, they're not
Right.
necessarily going to have the email address.
Okay.
Where it's good to capture that information is certainly with your older youth.
But on the child's profile, we would probably still put male as the preference.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
No problem. Good question. Let me see if I can. Trying to. Okay, well, we're gonna bear with me while I do some really quick typing. So we'll capture these release questions real quick. All right. Yep, it's very detailed. Let's see here. Relationship. Okay, now we get to the fun part. So adding a club and a project. So a project does need to be identified. If you're not sure, there is, you have a different options on your projects, but if you are not sure on your club type for your county, every county does have a 0 I don't know option. So that is a prompt for your county admins. So if you're new to the community, that's fine. They'll make sure they get you set to the right club, you know, depending on where you live. Some clubs are set up for geographic locations, some meet in town, some meet out of town. So your county admins are going to work with you to help, you know, make sure you get to the right spot. But if your club populates, or you know what club you're going to be in, you select that from the drop down menu. Then it's just a matter of adding club and then adding in the projects that you want to do for the year. So sometimes, save for later, you have to come back to it. That's not a problem. Just when you log out, come back in, make sure you go to the primary household, and you'll see here we have an option. Our enrollment is still showing as red. It's showing as in progress. As you work through this process, once it goes to pending, it'll turn yellow. Once you're active, it'll be green. Your enrollments need to be active and in green status, certainly for event registration, certainly for getting ready. If you have a club that's getting ready to meet or engaging in activities, different events that are 4-H sanctioned, then you're going to want to make sure you're in a green active status. But if we've had to leave the enrollment, we have to come back. All we have to do is make sure you come to the primary household account. Go ahead and click continue enrollment. You make your updates that you need to, or let's say, you know, we need to add another project. The information has been saved from our last visit. no problem. So we can go ahead and find the project that we want to add. Everything's been captured. We go ahead and click submit. Success, your enrollment has been successfully submitted. So now we'll see here that enrollment status for Sally has moved to pending. It's the same process for your volunteer profile. There's the verbiage on the waivers is different. Your questions are going to be a little bit different, but very, very similar. It's still the 3 steps. And the last kind of also having in that project tie. And you would identify your club member type. If you are a club volunteer, meaning like you're an organizational club leader, then there are a set of tools that you will get within the system once your account is active status. But again, when you log in, primary household account is where you'll want to go. So let me show you different. I want to show you some of those club volunteer tools once you're green active status. Any questions so far as like the 3 steps on setup?
There aren't any in the chat, but if y'all want to unmute or send something in the chat, do not be shy. We are here to help you.
Hey, Emma,
Yes.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
For the volunteers, does them selecting organizational leader, and I didn't make it to the agent chat the other day, so I'm sorry if you have already addressed this. Does them selecting the organizational leader automatically give them access to the club options, or do they have to request leader access?
So the volunteer needs to make sure that they select that volunteer type. I do believe once that volunteer type has been identified with that individual, once that person is active status, such as Bertha, then what that person will see is in their profile. So what I did for the straw household, Bertha is a volunteer. She's an organizational club leader of the Mud Runners 4-H Club. So still in ZSuite, in her profile, she has her own menu. So she'll have, she can see where, so for some states, they use Sterling Volunteer. She can check on her screening status. That isn't turned on for Arkansas, but she can access newsletter. This particular county is set up for record books. She can check record books. This is Clover Academy, as I said earlier, is the volunteer training. She has access to the events and calendar, which I'll touch on here in a bit. But if she's identified herself as a club organizational leader, then this submenu will appear. And again, they have to be active status, but if they've identified themselves as an organizational leader, this submenu will appear. So it includes home, which is kind of the club leader dashboard, activities. Record book submissions will not show because y'all aren't using record books. It'll have an option for announcements, reports, club documents, shared files, templates, and events. So the home provides a snapshot for the club, active enrollments, if there's project leaders tied to that, volunteer and members, their numbers on that as far as active or pending. You get a preview of events, and then you get basically basic information on those volunteer and member enrollments within the club. You'll see here that the club leader has the approval component. This does not supersede or take away the county approval for the enrollment. This is just confirmation that yes, Jed Straw is a member of this club. So they can approve or not, but it gives them a very great, easy view of the activity within their club. As far as activities, we're working on this component to help this connect to a member's record. And so activities can be clinics, they can be field days, they can be a track of the activities that this club does throughout the 4-H year. Similar, yes, to a 4-H club calendar, but a little bit different. There can be a lot of different things that make up an activity. And so there has been a wide variety of how states use that, but that tool is there. As far as announcements, so when a club leader makes an announcement, and it's very easy, just click the green add announcement title. They can say how long they want this to show to. They can say the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And there's some formatting options for the font, but this will show on your the households and the members that are affiliated with your club. So this is a great tool to share information out. I believe when a club leader makes an announcement, that also goes on the county dashboard too. So there will be a list of announcements that will build as y'all start using the system, but it's a great way to get information out early. There are a lot of built-in components that help mitigate the I don't know. One of the biggest things I saw working in the county as far as the health of my program, the sooner that dates can be set on a calendar as far as 4-H meetings and sharing that information. 4-H clubs, if you set your calendar early and everybody's engaged in that decision-making process as far as the dates, the sooner that is done, that becomes a priority for your families. So there's a lot of different tools in here that I'm going to walk through in a second. Announcements is a great place to start, but for club leaders, this events tool is the cat's meow. I wish I had this when I was working at the county. So basically, your club leaders can create a little event, and this is a great way to set your count. Once your calendar is set for the year, unless there is an emergency, then everybody is going to know your meeting dates, or they can log into the system and say, log in, check everything. Sometimes you have to cancel a meeting, that's okay, but the lion's share of the who, what, when, where, why, and how can be captured in this. You can set a picture, you can put in the name, the description of the activity, when it is, when it ends at, where it's located at, and your contact information. And so for every event that you add, that will come together and populate on the calendar. So let me go back through, see when these events were. Now that I said that, okay, so March, June, September, October 27th. Okay. October 27th. Here we go. So as events come in, they'll populate on this calendar. Any events that you see in red, those are coming from the state level. But your test events or your club events will populate on the calendar. And this information all goes to your households. And the kiddos, they have their own profile. They have access to a calendar. So it's a very, very easy way to share and communicate what is going on in your clubs. Another powerful tool that your organizational club leaders have is the ability to pull reports. So there are a wide variety of canned reports, club member directory. They can print off member and volunteer waivers for that club. They can also pull off project leader directory. So as if your club leader isn't active, then this information won't show for them, but this is certainly information your county office can pull to help. But this really helps bring that club organization and sharing of information, makes it very, very easy for individuals to do that. So I know that is a lot of information to share. If there's shared files as far as different events that you want to share, or if there's flyers, different opportunities for your club, you can share files for your club. And club documents, this is information that your county person will need as far as your club plan, club officers, if your club does fundraising. And so there's some built-in tools to really help with the organization of that paper trail from the club leader side to the county admin side. So those components are already in there. I'm going to hop back out. That's a lot of information very quick, but any questions on that so far before I go back into the demo site again?
Erika, there was a question to review like what the enrollment looks like for a volunteer. And so if you want to just go through that really quickly, I know it's very similar to a child enrollment, just with some different terminology.
Yep.
But if you would go ahead and show them that just really quickly, we would appreciate it.
Okay, so Sam Clover needs to enroll. We've set up his household account. So again, there's 3 different components to the volunteer enrollment: personal information, waivers, club, and as a part of the club tab is project selection. So then volunteer first name, last name, date of birth, email address, and that's if you have something different than your household email address. So that helps direct communication. Where that also is helpful is to, especially if 2 spouses are in the household, make sure you do identify different email addresses, because when it comes time for background screens, sometimes if one email address is used for multiple spouses, then that will flag as a duplicate, and so it can cause problems on the screen. So that is very, very helpful to identify that as such. Again, the consent, or the opt-in, do you want to receive text messages, yes or no? Then identifying a mailing address if that's different than family. If it's the same, then you don't have to fill that out. Emergency contact information, demographics, military service. And the volunteers also have waivers. Again, code of conduct, health form, publicity release, equine activities, and shooting sports activities. Fill that out real quick. With the shooting sports. Work through the waivers. Click next. So then we're at the club selection and project selection. So Sam is going to do the Crazy Critters Club. As far as leading projects, gonna do horse, and he'll help out with cattle. No other changes. I mean, if you needed to leave, you could save and come back. If there are no changes, then we can go ahead and submit. There we go.
A question on that, Erika, is what do we pick if we are the leader project-wise?
So then if you are the leader, so you would select club and then the projects that you're going to lead. So let me add another club here. So the first thing when you add a club, it'll ask you the roles. I'm not sure. It can ask you if you are the main leader. If you are a project leader, then you would select the project leader component. And then Fun Times 4-H Club project leader. You can go ahead and click that. And then as far as the project, you would select the project that you lead. So if you are a horse leader, then you would select that project. But you definitely want to make sure for that respective club that you are identified as the project leader.
No, I was asking if you are the club, you're the leader of the entire club.
Okay, then you would be the organization leader, the main leader for that club.
And you don't have to pick a project then?
You would need to pick a project because you can select, I don't know, if you don't have any projects, if you're just the organizational leader, I don't know is built into that menu, or there is another option. But you do have to have a project component. The enrollment can't be submitted if there isn't a project. So that is a good question.
Mine went through today and I didn't select a project as organizational leader.
Okay. All right. So then maybe there was a change to the setting, but if it was able to be submitted, then you're good to go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great questions though. And that the role and how the enrollment acts, that does vary state by state. So those are some of those system nuances with some of the things that we work through. So
Yeah, well, we're a very small rural area. So, we, as leaders, we're the leader of the club, we're the leader of refreshments, we're the leader of everything.
Yeah. When I was working in the county for Idaho, I was located 30 miles south of the Canadian border. So yep. And we wear a lot of different hats. I helped out on a club too. So I totally understand that.
Erika, there's one more on that.
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Oh,
it's
no,
in that
not a
same
problem.
vein. Is there an option for resource leaders who do not want to help with projects and isn't the main leader?
Okay, so we'll go ahead and yes, I believe so. So on your unit roles, there is an option for resource, so you help where needed. There's also an option for an activity leader. There's also an option for records. So that's if you were taking more of an active role in the record keeping thing, maybe you work more hand in hand with the secretary or the club treasurer. But if you're just helping out and help, then the role that you would want to select for that would be your resource support volunteer role. You would still want to make the connection to the club. And then as far as projects, what projects do you want to help out with? If you don't know, then that's, or it sounds like you don't have to designate the projects, but if you know what kind of areas you want to help out with, then that information is helpful. That will help your organizational leader out a lot.
All right, that is all on that front for now. Thank you so much for answering our questions.
So you'll see here, as far as built-in tools, newsletter. If this shows up nothing, your county can it's very easy. All they have to do is click add newsletter. They can add in their newsletter. As the 4-H year goes, you may see more newsletters build, so you may actually have a feed, or as it gets closer to fair time, you may have a newsletter dedicated strictly for your fair with all of your policies. There's the only parameter from the county admin side, you just need to make sure they upload a PDF, but it's very easy. So if my county used to do a bi-monthly newsletter, so I was a fan of having the previous months and the current month, or there's really not a limit how much information's in there, but it's very easy. And as this year goes on, encourage your county admins, put the newsletters in there. But again, it's very easy for when you're doing your 4-H meeting, hey guys, log into your system, check it out. You can do a couple meetings at the tail end and say, at the tail end of your business meeting, say, okay, there's a couple tools. Who can tell me where to find this? Or does anybody know what was in this month's newsletter? Or there's different ways, especially if you have team leaders, have them kind of help drive that information sharing. And if there's people are getting stuck, it is a very user-friendly system. You can't blow it up, and it's supported. So, if there's something that functions wrong, let Emma know, let your county staff person know, because we are here to help. You know, the whole point of us having a software system is to make sure that it's useful, that it's relevant, but more importantly, that it's used. So, you know, there's a lot of different tools in here to help save time, and then also to help make, you know, your job easier as a club leader too. So that is certainly a big part. And we do have a help repository. So if there's a tip sheet that is needed, let me know, or let Emma know and she can let me know. But you know, there's video tips like how to create or how to work through the accessibility adjustments, some tips on you know, how to take advantage of the communication tools within the system, setting goals, then a whole club leader toolkit series as far as walking through the home screen, making announcements, events and calendar, club documents, shared files and newsletters. There is a tip sheet on how to make that website or the shortcut for a mobile device. And one thing I was going to also show, this demo site does not have events turned on, but I can hop into all right, so from your household account, you want to make sure you're in the primary account, and you'll see this events tab. You'll see events advertised in the bottom of your dashboard within your respective profiles. But when it comes time to register for an event, now these events don't have registration, but if a member is age eligible to register for an event, you'll see here a pencil, and it's that it is that easy. You get a very basic overview of what the event is about. You get the dates, you'll get what the cost is, where the location is, and who the contact person is. Download attachments. This is information relevant to the event. And if you want to register somebody, you click on the pencil, it'll ask you, and the system will look, or depending on how the event is set up, it will look at different parameters. There are several different parameters that can be put into play for an event. Some are based by project, some are based for certain ages. Some, if registration is required, okay, then they have to register. Some are going to be only youth event registrations. Some will include youth and adult. But if somebody is eligible in your family to register for the event, then the registration form is here. Your series of questions will be centric to that event itself. And you can register another participant, or you can just select, or you can submit that one registration for that individual, and you're done. You will get system notifications. So just with your enrollments, as far as enrollment submitted, enrollment approved, you will get system notifications as far as your touch points on your event registrations, event registration submitted, event registration approved. So there's definitely a lot of power within this platform. And as the 4-H year moves forward, and as I do trainings with your county admins and the state team, you're going to see a lot. But it's very exciting, because there's just a lot you can do with it. So, but though I know I covered a lot, this training's recorded, so you can certainly revisit. But there's, again, no such thing as a bad question. So if there's something you're not quite sure on, reach out to Emma or me. We can certainly help you with that. Also, check out the help desk. I mean, those help repository materials are in that system 24 hours a day. So those are there and designed to help you through the system as well. So any questions above and beyond what I haven't touched on already?
We do have one really good question here. Can 2 volunteers pick the main leader in the same club?
Yes. Absolutely. There's not a restriction on that. I'm a big fan of co-leading. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
Especially with busy schedules. So great question.
Is the newsletter for clubs or for county?
As for county, it is a great way though to pull out topics to discuss at your club meetings. The best part about the newsletter is that even on the individual profiles for the kiddos, newsletter appears as an option. As a volunteer, the newsletter is an easy click there for you. So if you forget it, you can log into your phone, you can access ZSuite, you can access that newsletter. If there's something that you are wanting to bring up or address within your club meeting, it's all right there. But if the newsletter isn't uploaded, then nobody gets a newsletter. So it's important to encourage your counties to, you know, work with your county admin and say, hey, this is a great tool, put our newsletter in there. Or, you know, if there's information that needs to be shared or events that are coming up that y'all are aware of, your county admin can aggregate those dates and events out on their calendar and get that information out there for y'all.
The only other thing, I had a little tip that I've been telling people. We had somebody ask what the web address that they register at, so I sent that in the chat. If you need that, and I also recommend just bookmarking that. If you are on your laptop or your iPad or whatever, just bookmark that in your browser. So then you don't even have to worry about finding it. You can just click that icon and it'll take you there every time.
And that's a good segue. Again, Google Chrome. Sometimes when you come to the landing page, you'll get a spin. You'll just see a little blue icon. You may not have something load on the page. I have lost count the amount of updates we have pushed up in the last 2 weeks. So sometimes it is very important. Sometimes if it gets stuck, Control F5, if you're using a PC, is going to be your friend. If you're on a Mac, you're going to want to do Command Shift R. And if that does not work, you may have to clear out your browser cache, and you can certainly have to do that on a mobile device as well. So if you search for clear browser cache in the help repository, there's steps regardless of the device you're using, regardless of the browser that you're using. Even if you're looking for those tips on a mobile device, that is on there already. But again, do not use Microsoft Edge. That is not supported. So but you shouldn't have any problems. But that being said, I know there was probably a better part of half a dozen updates just today. So we had the lion's share of our clientele base. So we work with 30 states across the nation. So a lot of states go October 1. And so it's a very busy time of year for us. But any other questions? I really appreciate everybody's time, especially on a weeknight. Great questions from y'all. This is a really, really solid training for your state to use moving forward, but this won't be the last training. So if you have questions or if there's training content you would like something focused on, certainly let Emma know. We can get that coordinated for y'all, and we are here and happy to help. If you run into issues or get stuck, reach out to your county folks and they can contact me. That's kind of, you know, your county folks need to be kind of in the loop so they're aware of what's going on, and they're learning too. So patience is great, but you know, please know that we're not leaving y'all alone. You're supported, and there is no such thing as a bad question in our book. And that's all I have for tonight. That's a lot for an hour.
Yes, props to y'all. Good job. Thank y'all so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Erika. Thank you, Emma.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Have a
you.
great evening. Thank you.
Helpful.
Oh, wonderful. Great.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Emma.
Yes, ma'am. For those of y'all that are left, can we help answer any questions or anything?